you should see a psychologist.
The author of the Constitution of Peace, but you still won't really introduce me.
Introducing our guest is difficult. That's why, Konstantin Sarkisyan, I have a lot of questions. We often have different psychologists here, and what I notice is that each of them has their own position. People who see this, listen to this and say, yes, yes, I had an ex just like that. That's exactly about her. Go on, tell me, why is she to blame, not me? Why are all women considered evil? So they come to him and he shows them a way out of the situation. It's the same with women. They think all men are evil. So first, why does this happen? Don't you think such divided opinions from psychologists make the already fragile institution of marriage even weaker? And in one of your reels, you said that it has already collapsed. What's your view on the large number of coach psychologists, and how are you different from them? Prove it to me if possible, just briefly, okay?
Let's remove the word prove, because we're not in court. Explain, just explain. It's my favorite word, explain. Fighting is the most useless activity on earth. Stop fighting against things. Imagine that you come to some kind of fair and you realize that everyone there has some kind of product. Why should they buy your product? And first you either think that no one will buy your product. Who needs my potatoes and how many people already have them? That is, you start comparing yourself. The struggle only happens when you start comparing yourself to someone else. In our childhood, we were always compared to someone. But look at Vasya, why aren't you like him? And look at Masha, and so on and so on. I want everyone to see that internal comparison always leads to struggle, which, as you said, creates a need to prove something. Right now, I'll prove to everyone that I'm the best. I'm not proving to anyone that I'm the best. I'm not competing with anyone. You can talk about anything you want. I only say what I believe in myself, and that's the essence of it. God gave people the greatest gift in the universe. It's the right to choose. Choice is responsibility, and this choice gives you a sense of freedom. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is the right to decide your own destiny. And you have this choice to decide your own destiny. That's why I always say you should selflessly give just two things, time and choice. So this psychologist can talk about anything, and maybe he even has the right to know. Who can forbid him from saying it? We already live in such a world. Welcome to the modern world, Sasha, where any random shepherd can spit in the queen's face and nothing will happen to him for it. All boundaries are erased, hierarchy is erased, order is erased, now anyone can do something with impunity and so on. Okay, I accept the game rules. Then I ask myself the question, what will you do? How will you behave? I say donkeys can talk about anything, blue grass, yellow grass, but I say the grass is green. But we all have to give the right to choose. Subtitles. You can believe me. You can choose not to. You can believe Vase. You can believe Pete. This one says all women are like that. That one says all men are like that. Are they right in their own perspective? They're right because she suffered because of men and he suffered because of women. The question is for Konstantin. Prove that you're not like that. I haven't suffered because of anyone, that's all. And when you listen to Konstantin Sarkisyan, you start to wonder, is this guy even hurt in the ass? Because you can always tell when someone is judging, criticizing, belittling, or devaluing others, they're in pain. And if they're in pain, they're wounded. That's why I don't rely on devaluing anyone. I say, guys, this is a river. A river is water, the water is fresh, and you can swim across it. I'm not judging. Fresh water, you know, it's not tasty. I say, yeah, I don't care if it's tasty or not. I'm just saying the water is fresh. I mean, I'm explaining, and when someone, what do people keep writing to me? Konstantin, you say the same thing every time. Thank you so much for explaining complicated things in simple words. I don't judge women or men, though I have a reel where I say women are, to me, the crown of creation. It's true, that's just who I am. I adore women. For me, women are everything. Don't take God or women from me, you can take anything else. But I don't judge whether women are good or men are bad. No, a man is this, a woman is that. We were created for this and more, that's clear to you.
All at once. The question is, have you tried, he said. In the Bible, our roles are described to some extent anyway, what a man is, what a woman is, and their relationships. If you look at today's world, well, everything is very different, quite a lot. Tell me, for example, how relevant is patriarchy today? Subtitles. When I express my values, people call me sexist. I ask why. You say, I'm the head, but I am because I don't humiliate my wife or anything like that. I have certain roles. I'm responsible for safety, for her comfort, for...
That I simply have rails on this topic. Go on.
Sorry, please, so that she doesn't think she has her own roles. It's not because I'm the main one. These roles matter more, not that they're more important, just different for her. The role in my life is to inspire me, to warm me, to help me go to bed early when I come home. That's why I have good relationships with women, even though I've had traumas in the past. But at the same time, I didn't become bitter because of it. First of all, because I understood that all women are different, and secondly, I realized that I was also partly to blame. If I were to talk to those same women today with the knowledge I have now, maybe the relationships would have been completely different. And how do you feel about patriarchy in general, specifically patriarchy, and do you think there's no place for it in the modern world?
Patriarchy is a political system, and politics shapes relationships between people. Patriarchy means male dominance. Patri means father, so he is the head of the family. But I have Ilya once asked me this question about who's in charge and who's not. I always stick to one policy. At home, the woman is in charge. Outside the home, the man is in charge. Why? Because the woman's world, just to be clear, is inside, and the man's world is outside. God divided the spheres of influence. He told the woman, your world is inside, and he told the man, your world is outside. That's why women are more likely to go to psychologists, to seek knowledge about themselves and all that stuff. But in the material world, a woman's inner world is the home, while a man's world is outside. That's why I always say that a woman at home isn't resting, she's working. A man works outside the home, so when he comes home, he rests. But a woman should rest by leaving the house, spending time with her friends, going for walks, and so on. Patriarchy is when I'm the boss everywhere, and that's not right. I clearly told my wife and everyone else, anyone who enters my house, even my parents, because this is also a very relevant issue. When a man is caught between two fires, between his mother and his wife.
Tell her this, say this.
Yeah, at that moment I feel sorry for him because both women matter to him and he doesn't understand. Eventually he'll quietly say, damn it, figured it out yourselves. But I want to tell this man that taking responsibility off yourself is irresponsible. So as a man, I set the rules. I told everyone in the house, my main wife is in charge. When someone comes into my house, my main wife is in charge here. When we're outside, my wife knows I'm in charge. I shook your hand because you said exactly the right words. It's not safe there. This is my tribe. These are my people, and I am responsible for her safety, because the world is dangerous, and only I know how to protect. That means I make the decisions about what we do, how we do it, and you and I live. You see, in the modern world, where men are like, well, 50-50, splitting everything, when a man starts saying, let's split everything,
that's disgusting, I agree. But about the 50-50 thing, if the law says 50-50, it really triggers many people. I'm discussing divorce. Let's consider an average family where the husband earns roughly the same as the wife, maybe slightly more. And when you both really acquired the property together, splitting it 50-50, I get it. But Jeff Bezos, for example, when he got divorced, he gave a huge portion of his fortune to his wife. Still, when it comes to the law, I think it works for the general public, but in the context of how the law explains it, that you acquired things together, you bought that apartment together, but here, well, wives can be different, for example. You understand yourself, she didn't do anything at all, just went to the cosmetologist, and suddenly she's like, please give me 30 billion, while I was risking my life, my health, and everything else. Currently, Dmitry Bivol's wife often criticizes him, and I strongly disapprove of doing that in public.
Dima liked my post.
Yeah, and on Instagram, Bivol's wife, with all due respect to all women, that's bad publicity for marriage. Because now a lot of people look at that and think, God forbid, they look at old photos. They were happy, everything was good for them. She stood up for him, but in an instant, this person became his worst nightmare. And this is such a warning against an unsuccessful marriage. Tell me, please, what do you really think? I started from afar, actually, regarding today's world in the context of Insta. When I was growing up, I didn't know anything about how people live, what happens, about a luxurious life, but now there's this window to the world, how billionaires live. It's accessible to everyone. And now every girl, already from the age of 13 or 14, is absolutely sure that she's a queen and that she will definitely have a prince. Because of this, there's a negative attitude toward an ordinary man who works as a teacher, I don't know, teaches history and culture. People look down on him. And I really see that they all want to be served only by super kings, but very few of them are actually princesses themselves, and that's very bad, because men notice this. All these videos with Patrick's talk about how much a man should earn and list big numbers. I wonder first where you'll find so many men making that much, and second, what will you offer them? Tell me, what do you think? Have social networks brought a negative aspect to the relationship between men and women?
I wouldn't put the responsibility on social networks.
But people are weak.
Look, a knife can stab a person, or it can cut bread. Is the knife evil? No. The evil is in the hands of the one holding the knife. Social networks just give us the opportunity to share information. If it were evil, you wouldn't have created your own channel on YouTube, you see, and you wouldn't be sharing your wisdom. So social networks are telling you, we also give you the opportunity to express your own truth. This is a very global question, and I'll try to answer you simply. We have entered an era, a new ideological era, where material well-being now prevails. Speculate all you want about why this happened, because the people who create this content are the children of those who grew up in the 90s. Where did we leave those 90s? You remember them?
The Crimson Jackets?
Of course, I remember those 90s very well too. I remember that poverty. I remember the guys sniffing glue everywhere. I remember all that crime. That's it. I mean, there was no country. It was the greatest tragedy, really. I don't know, in the last 100 years when a great country was destroyed. And that's it. You know, it was like there was some kind of reserve. And suddenly everyone left and the animals were left with nothing to do. And everyone started to realize, what should we do? How should we live? And so on and so on. And at that moment, into this hole, into this ideological rift, yes, this ideology of material benefit began to take root. So they offered us Snickers, they offered us computers, they offered us phones, they offered us all of this. So the Western ideology of the cult of material benefit came in, and it took root very strongly, and starting from the 2000s, this architecture gradually grew, and the superiority of material benefit kept growing. So, if you have money, you're a person. If you don't have money, you're biotrash, and nobody did anything about it. We accepted it, we realized it, we acknowledged it, and we said, okay, that's how it's going to be from now on. Everyone started dancing around this Christmas tree. Now the children of these people, the founding fathers of this ideological tree, you see, you understand. Now these children are making content about money. Why? Because they grew up in this atmosphere where money decides everything. That if you have an apartment, a car, and so on and so forth, now that's cool. You see that there are rich men who can buy your body, and all of that is great. This is all Sasha's ideology, and it has taken root in our minds, in the minds of our children. And now we see it on social media, the number of likes, the number of followers, and so on. It's like, you know, the whole world is selling its soul to the devil for this golden calf. You and I look at this and realize that everything is going in the wrong direction. Something is happening to this world. I'll explain it to you. The world is falling apart now. That's why it's falling apart. That's why the system is collapsing. Because these pillars that were supposed to support the architecture are meaningless. They're empty. You see, right now, you and I, just like your followers, my followers, really all people, we are witnessing some of the wildest historical events. When the system is collapsing, the world system is collapsing, order is collapsing. And now people, you know, just imagine.
Hello, friends.
I'm just visualizing a picture like this. A herd is rushing across the field. It's not grazing, it's rushing somewhere, rushing. And now imagine some kind of drone filming all this from behind, this herd, it's rushing, all of it. Woo, prairies, the whole field is rushing, and then the drone rises up. We're like, picture it. There's a cliff ahead, and the herd is rushing, but it's rushing toward the cliff, and it's running. At what point will this herd fall off? Even if the front line sees it, realizes it, and stops, by the law of inertia, those behind will just push them forward, shove them over, and the whole herd will fall. Those in the herd who realize in time that we're rushing in the wrong direction and stop, just tell themselves, stop, I don't need to go there. They'll survive, they won't get hurt, so to speak. But this main wave that's rushing after all these contents, followers, recognition, material benefits, how much do you earn? Oh, millions. And then Limbagen's blogs, all of that, Dubai and so on. They're rushing there. That's why I say, let the herd rush into the abyss. Don't stop them.
So the question is, well, I have a watch, for example, and you have a nice suit. But at the same time, I don't consider myself a bad person, and I would never sell my conscience for material goods. But you can be successful, make money, and still remain a good person. That's because in the end, the image we have is that being rich means being a thief. Being rich means you stole, not earned it. And I, for example, encounter this myself. What do? It's because people like to devalue other people's work. It's easier that way. You know, you have two choices. Either you admit that he's better or has achieved something because he works harder, tries more, is smarter in some ways, or luckier in others. I don't really believe in luck. And the second option is to devalue. They said my dad helped me, but he's been gone a long time. I had just started working when he passed away. They said my mom helped me, but she's just a regular doctor who earns a salary and never asks for anything. She's honest and decent. All those stories about my relatives or acquaintances aren't true. I did everything myself, but I still have to deal with rumors. We have this dislike of wealth here, because for us, wealth equals dishonesty. Seeing how hard my mom worked for money all my life ingrained in me that money equals hard work. Sometimes I still have to remind myself that easy money doesn't just appear out of nowhere. For example, let me put it this way. I had a videographer, and he charged quite a large amount. I won't say the amount, it might scare people and sound bad. He promised me amazing marketing results. I paid for 1, 2, then 3 months, but he didn't do the work the third month. I said I'd pay, just finish the subtitles. He replied, "It's not a lot for you." I asked, "What do you mean, not a lot?" "I work, my official salary is 10 times less. So what, aren't you earning money there?" I said, "Yes, but every day I see people who save lives for 1/10 of what we paid you. They go to work every day, get up early, worry, experience huge stress, take on enormous responsibility, and save people's lives. They studied 6 years at the institute, spent 2 years in residency, wrote a thesis, gained experience at their own expense, and did internships. And they get 10 times less. You say you're going to teach me how much things cost in life, but I never will. I work every day and understand the value of money, so I was surprised when someone wrote to me. Did you reply to me at the institute or elsewhere? I always respond when I can, always to people. I greet the cleaning ladies and security guard. I don't act that way. Why do others? Let me ask you right away, why do people, when they get power or money, become worse? Are they like that from the beginning, or is it a catalyst for what's inside, or does it really corrupt many people?
First, about how it's easier to kill, to devalue. I call this the Salieri syndrome. I came up with this psychological term. Salieri syndrome is when it's easier for me to kill a genius than to become a genius myself. Take it easier when you see that in front of you is a person who wants to become someone but can't. You have two options, either become that person or devalue them. So I'm uncomfortable that you're above me, so I either rise up myself or I put you down. Here it's your choice. Either you let him put you down or you don't. If you allow it, even by trying to prove yourself, like saying, "Why do you think that? I work, I do this, I'm like this." I just want to say, "Sasha, why are you doing this? Why are you explaining to a monkey why a lion is supposed to be a predator by nature?" You know, like we used to say in the army, by entitlement. You see, I'm entitled, I have the right. So there's this one phrase that people like you, for some reason, don't use. For some reason, you've left out this phrase. If you start using this phrase in your everyday life, believe me, you won't have to prove to every monkey or donkey that the grass is actually green. I have the right.
I have the right.
I have the right. Why wear that sweater? Why is it so expensive? And why do you have such an expensive watch? I have the right. I have the right. The key word is right. I have the right. But who gave you that right? I'll explain who gave me that right. I have it. This isn't a phrase to say to them. It's your phrase for yourself.
A short answer is enough. Then my next question is, how important is it? Often women just say, spend more time with me. Why did you go to the gym? But with me, I really need it. Sometimes it's not about going to clubs or anything like that, but about being with people I can talk to, people I like, going to work out, going to the sauna together, spending masculine energy together. That's what it's about, energy exchange. A place to crack bones or wash someone. I need this. And yes, guys do this too. And I need this too. What do you think? Is it important for a man to communicate with other men, or can a woman completely replace all of that?
You once asked me a very provocative question. Is it important for men to communicate with other men?
Well, in a good way, thank you.
I don't even know how to answer you. It's important, but in what way is it important?
Well, can I be a real man if I don't talk to other men, don't go on rounds, don't want to? Of course not.
No, of course not. I can explain that to any woman. Let him go.
How do I explain that leaving home like this feels like betrayal? There are so many different video jokes about husbands asking their wives for permission. I get it. Sometimes the husband is lying and going somewhere he shouldn't, but sometimes he really just needs to go and
You feel guilty when leaving?
Women often try to make us feel guilty.
Wait, brother, wait. The world starts with you.
I don't feel guilty because I know
You refuse because of this, but I want
her to understand this.
I tell my wife, I'm not asking you, I'm just stating the fact.
Then they say, oh, Tyron. He never negotiates, just leaves, Tyron.
Yes, a tyrant is a person who uses physical violence against someone to achieve his own goals.
What is abuse?
Abuse is just a trendy word, but there's a dictator, that's a person who wants all the power for himself, and there's a tyrant who uses his power but also uses physical violence. So a dictator doesn't use physical violence, it's the tyrant who does.
There is. Next time someone tells you that you have to ask for permission, you can say this. Sarkisyan said that you just inform your wife. You need to let her know and go because there are men's matters waiting for me there. It's good for your health, for your mind. So
I'll add, you'll be asking your parents for permission. The time for asking is over. Now you just state the fact that I'm going there, I'm going there. Who am I supposed to ask permission from?
from your woman, she comes and says,
My wife doesn't ask my permission.
she simply states the fact. Many men also have a negative attitude about it.
Yeah, I don't care how men or women feel about it. I'm telling you, look, people always ask me about my opinion. I never express my opinion about anything. I only share knowledge about the constitution of the world I live in. My wife said I don't need permission, just to tell her afterward. There, Jan, we call each other Jan. She says, Jan, I'm going out with my girlfriends today. I say, okay, go ahead. I don't even ask what time she'll be back, you know? I just tell her, don't worry, the kids will be fed. I'll put them to bed. I might only text her at 11 p.m. Jan, don't worry, the kids are already asleep and they've all been fed. And she can come back at midnight. But I want my wife to be calm, to sit with her friends, knowing that the kids are safe, that everything is fine with the kids, and I'm not bothering her. When you come home, the kids are everywhere. No. I give her this opportunity. You know why? Because I know she gives me this opportunity too. That's why I don't just state the fact, you know, that I'm going hunting. No, I say, Jan, I'm going hunting. She replies, it's all right, please, it's all right. So for me, it's nonsense when a husband asks his wife for permission like a child in kindergarten. What is this, mommy?
Which I often see.
Well, this, you know, you understand that this would be, but this isn't maturity, it's irresponsible.
They make you feel guilty, like you owe them for it. It's manipulation with gifts or a date.
then I have to admit that I'm manipulating, because manipulation is psychological influence on a person, on their sense of guilt, fear, blackmail, guilt, manipulation.
They manipulate knowingly, or perhaps it's just how they were raised.
Some people do it consciously, others unconsciously. It's a strategy, and every person has their own strategies for influencing the world to get the result they want. Some people get it one way, some just take a frying pan, hit someone on the head, and say, I got my desired result.
He went silent.
Someone says, you don't say you love me, but Masha's husband tells her he loves her. That's manipulation. So what did I do wrong again, you see, right? And the strategy, I just notice any strategy that a person uses towards me. But if you ask me, Kostya, what strategy do you use? What game? I have the coolest strategy. It works 100%. It's like an atomic strategy. Sincerity, I'm always sincere with everyone. That's my strategy. And you can't imagine how disarming it is. It makes the other person be sincere too. Are you ready to be sincere with me, you know? You either say yes or you start, I don't know. I was like, God, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Open up. Come on. That's it. Goodbye. That's why my wife says she's with me. Screening ensures we all work sincerely and move forward together.
Does a wife have the right to take the phone in her hands? I'll tell you how it is. I have a password, a complicated one, but that's because I communicate with certain people and everything has to be secure. Even the SIM cards have passwords, which she knows and can use to take them anytime she wants. I just have nothing to hide. Many people often don't share under the pretext that it's wrong because they have something to hide. I don't know how I would feel about myself if I had something to hide, but I'm curious.
I just wouldn't share, that's all.
Well, probably, yes, under the pretext that it's my personal space, but most psychologists say that it's personal space and you shouldn't invade it. I just don't care about the needs. Well, if you snoop around, it's a pity.
You know, then you need to define it and ask these psychologists. And says, define the personal space zone. What is personal space? Where is it? This is personal space. My wife can access my phone, it's fine. Sometimes I even give it to her myself. He gets so many messages, answering them all. Please, I can access her phone too. We have absolute total trust. You see, our relationship is built not only on love, but also on trust. I have nothing to hide there, don't hide anything, and so on. If psychologists talk about personal space, fine. When I talk to God, that's my personal space, and I don't have to involve anyone in those conversations. Why do people ask what I talk to God about? Does that concern you? What I talk about is my personal space. Or if you want, I wrote an entire book about my conversation with God, and I'm sharing it with you. Personal space varies. Some find it in prayer, others in the bedroom. What is personal space? I mean, so the circle of trust will end. And the closest circle of trust, this circle includes my wife and my 2 children, and God, there is no one else there. Others belong to the second circle of trust, close friends. You see, then there's another circle of trust. So 5 circles of trust all the way to strangers, you see, and this is my personal circle of trust. With my family, I have no personal space, but my wife does.
I don't have any.
But actually, I do have it. There's even a term for it, men's sacred time. I even gave a whole lecture about it. A man has his sacred time, and no one has the right to claim it, not even his wife. During this sacred time, a man has the right to do whatever he wants. Hunt, fish, work out, read a book, watch a movie. This is his sacred time. That's the first point, and the second point is straightforward. A man should have his own study, no matter what. A man should have his own study.
Even I miss that.
You see, that's the kind of place where you walk in and you just feel great.
A place of power, real power.
Yeah, this is my place, my office, this is my place of power, and my wife has her own place of power. There's the bedroom, she can do her makeup there, do whatever she wants, that's the bedroom, and I have my office, that's it. We come in, you know, we knock. This is my personal space, but then again, what kind of personal space is there, really? Of course, the kids and my wife come into my office, I have nothing to hide in there. So I don't really have any secrets from my wife, you know? But it's a different story for everyone else. No one else is allowed into that circle of trust. My family is my wife and 2 kids. One day the kids will grow up and move out, leaving just my wife and me.
Cheating is mainly about losing trust. However, you view male and female infidelity differently. So what should you do if someone cheats on you?
I can tell you what female infidelity is and what male infidelity is. A woman cheats only when in her mind you stop being her man. I'm not even talking about the heart. So if a woman cheated on you, she did it only because in her mind she was already free, even though she might still be under the same roof with you. You see, this is important for a woman. A man can cheat even if he sincerely loves you. Why? Because that's how a man is. You see, he's an achiever and he's missing something. I can tell you, no, you have to distinguish between types of cheating. Not all cheating is the same. There's cheating with a prostitute and there's cheating with a mistress. The only question is what each one gives you. A prostitute gives you a sense of power. That is, at least once in your life, there's a woman who says, do whatever you want with me. Continuing, my God, that's it, he's with her, he's the master. He comes home. Where have you been? She asks him. Where have you been? I said. There, she's the mistress. But a mistress is about emotions. There, he feels those emotions. He sees her eyes light up when he comes in. But when he comes home, of course, there's a tired wife. All of that, and the third, the 10th. In any case, any infidelity is the responsibility of both. A clap only happens with 2 hands, you know? So if a woman says, what did I do? It's all him. And so on and so on. But all of that is just empty talk. Because every time a married couple comes to see me, I say, I want to ask you one question. Just one? Do you love each other? And don't tell me, yes, I love him. Honestly, hand on your heart, do you really love each other? I don't know. Then what's the point of talking if you don't love each other? Did you ever love each other at all? I was young and he was like that, and so on. Why accuse each other of cheating or betrayal when it's enough to just sit down face to face and honestly admit, do we really love each other? If we love each other, then let's figure out together why there's a hole in our ship and why our ship might sink together. You see, at that moment when you hit turbulence, your enemy isn't the passenger next to you. You don't need to fight with them. You don't need to fight each other. Your enemy is the turbulence itself. Your common enemy is the turbulence, and you should hold hands and say, let's overcome this together. I understand you did this, I did that, or this happened to us. But if we love each other, and that's very easy to check, we hold hands and say, let's figure this out, if we can't figure it out ourselves. There's a family therapist. We'll both come. You'll say your part, I'll say mine, and maybe we'll just miss something. As an outside specialist, he'll say, here's your problem, which we missed, causing the issue. Can a ship run aground on reefs? Yes, even the best captain can't prevent a ship from running aground on reefs. Can a ship get caught in a storm? Yes, even with accurate weather forecasts. It can, but what does the crew do at that moment? Are we even a team? Are you and I a team? Or are we just a husband, a man, and a woman living together? And is each of us sharpening our own knife on the ambitions of the other person? That's not a family or a team. Do you think so after 15 years of marriage with your wife? Our ship was tossed, and thrown against these rocks, tossed and tossed. But we took each other's hands. Actually, we didn't just take them, we held each other's hands. Let's figure this out. It's just that in our family, we have the best psychologist in the country. My wife is lucky. She doesn't have to pay psychologists. But why?
Here's a question. Some psychologists have been married multiple times. Is it incompatibility, or do psychologists not always practice what they know?
It's about the psychologist's motivation, the person's motivation. Why did they even come to psychology in the first place? In 95% of cases, let's say, psychologists, people come to psychology to solve their own problems. And when they realize they haven't solved them, but it gives them a sense of superiority over those who have problems, and they continue to stay in that status. They say, my problems don't matter, only that I'll solve yours. That's why I don't trust psychologists who haven't solved their own problems. Do you understand? I can admit the fact that a psychologist might have had problems, but if he looks me in the eye and says, Kostya, I had these problems and I solved them. I was a drug addict and I solved that problem. I was an alcoholic and I solved that problem. I was that kind of person. I was poor, but now I solved that problem. I'm rich. I trust him and ask, how did you do it? But he replies, I'm still an alcoholic. I've had 4 marriages and actually I cheat, but I'm a psychologist. I'll tell you now how it should be. Well, guys, come on.
A question about, Jordan Peterson. Do you know who that is? Well, there's a famous person in America. You could say he's also your colleague. And he says, my question will be about feminism. I'll start from afar. Go ahead. And he says that feminists really like to talk. Look at those in power, look at how many men are there, and look at actors. Look, the highest paid athletes and actors are also men. Look at the oligarchs. Let's take the top 100, how many of them are men? It's all because of inequality. And he says they take 0.01% of the world's successful population and try to build a theory of feminism on that. Like, look, they're offending us. But at the same time, they forget that most people in prison are men, most victims of violence are men, and most people who die in wars are men. The lowest paid jobs, like, I don't know, underwater welders or other dangerous jobs, those are also men. The hardest physical labor is always done by men, and there are more homeless men than women. And the question arises, why do you want equality in that 0.01%, but at the same time you forget about the rest? Why don't we introduce equality there as well? Quotas everywhere, for bricklayers, for mechanics, for all professions, if that's what you want, not just for the successful ones. I also found another interesting theory on feminism. I'll add to this question that feminism was dictated by capitalism because it was economically beneficial for women to leave home and go to work so they would pay taxes. And they started promoting the idea of 50-50. How do you feel about feminism in general, especially this particularly sensitive aspect? I mean, feminism as such. And is there a place for it in your world? Not at home, but in your view of the ideal world.
Look, you need to understand one simple thing. Humanity is like subtitles, living beings like that. Countries that will turn any cool idea into some kind of radicalism. That's what happened with Christianity, with Islam, with Buddhism, with all its movements, which originally started as something good and then were picked up by fanatics.
Trust-based approaches?
Yeah. Then they turned it into a tool of power, influence, and control. Feminism as it exists now is about troubled women who need psychological help. Because it has nothing to do with true feminism, since originally feminism was about equality between men and women. Why? Because in the past we lived in a patriarchal world where women's rights were not taken into account. So basically you're just some kind of animal, and a man is the crown of creation. God created man. You were made from a rib, right? There are 24 ribs, so if it's not you, it's someone else. Basically, you are nobody, and your name means nothing. But actually, in reality, God didn't create woman from a rib, He created her as a reflection of man. You understand? That's why feminism is a movement that arose from the idea that women also have rights. Remember this phrase, it will become key in your podcast, I have rights. A woman says, I also have rights, I also want to have the same rights. It's not about, oh, you earn more and we earn less. They say, real feminists say, earn as much as you want, that's fine. Can we also earn money? Make as many movies as you want, that's fine. Can we also make movies? Thank you, you see. And can we also be in charge? Women just wanted to be in charge. And that's the right way. It's when you say, here's your world where you're in charge, and here's our world where we're in charge. Equality is when I'm in charge here and you're in charge there. And the problem started when women came into the men's world and said, we want to be in charge there too. The men said, are you sure you're up for it? Well, then let's come into the women's world and say, women, we want to be in charge here too. That's how the mess and some kind of gender nonsense happened, That's why a woman wants, what does a woman really want? A woman wants a man to value her. She doesn't care about feminism. She doesn't care about equality or having the same salary as a man, more than anything in the world. And let's put an end to this global question of what a woman wants. She wants a man to value her. She doesn't want a man to treat her like someone who came from his rib. 23 or 25? You see, say that I'm just as important in your life as God. Come on, please. I'm a man, maybe not the only one, and you might stand beside me as an equal. Who will say, a woman gives life and God gives life? How can we value God and not value a woman in her role, in her existence, in her being? Feminism only happened because of men with low self-esteem who wanted to assert themselves at the expense of women. Who burned beautiful women at the stake? Men. Who tried to bring these beautiful women to their knees? Men. Editors. Men who fought against women. There's no need to fight with women, You need to cooperate with them. I'll tell you even more. The best advisors for men are women. They're the best advisors. You know why? Because they have an amazing tool, intuition. It never fails. Our brains can make mistakes, but their intuition never fails. Choosing between a man, even the most brilliant one, and an ordinary woman with very well-developed intuition. I would pay any amount of money for this woman with intuition. And believe me, I would win, because she never makes mistakes, and I would take her as my advisor. Rather than a man with a good mind and a good education. Yeah, I don't need your education at all, because her intuition is way cooler than your Harvard diploma.
It's important for a woman to have grown up in a complete family with a male role model. I once dated a girl who didn't have a father in her family, and she was different from others. I don't want to say how, but she was different, and not in a good way. What do you think if a woman grows up in a dysfunctional family? Is that bad? Should you build a relationship with such women, or maybe there's some particular thing to consider? Is it better not to start a relationship at all? I suffered a lot in that relationship.
Well, you have to understand, the way you see it, it's like how I hear women say that men who earn 50,000 don't have the right to be left by their partners. No, any woman, at first, she's wonderful, she's gold, and let's put it this way, she's a diamond. But tell me, please, if a diamond falls into the mud, does it stop being a diamond?
No.
And dust that rises to the sky, will it become a diamond, or will it remain just dust that has risen to the sky?
It will remain dust.
Do you understand? For me, a woman is different from another, whether one has fallen into the mud or another has stayed on the ground, but in both cases, she is still a diamond. But the thing is, what difference does it make whether she grew up in a complete or incomplete family if she understands that she grew up in a complete one? As a psychologist who sees women from both complete and incomplete families, I'm telling you this. And believe me, they're not that different from each other, because one might grow up in a complete family, but the father was abusive, the mother seemed complete, but
When I say complete, I don't mean the father.
The father is good.
That's where they learn how things should be. If the father is present, it's a good example, but if he's an alcoholic or drug addict, the family isn't complete.
Believe me, if your soulmate was born in an incomplete family, it doesn't matter what kind of family they were born in. They're your soulmate, believe me.
Why so much talk about soulmates and love at first sight? Here's my destiny, but why does it share my desk, live in the next building, and not come from Zimbabwe? And she's not black.
Who told you? My wife is Kazakh.
Most of them, look, my wife is Kazakh, they all speak the same language. Maybe we just invent this love ourselves?
No, we're not making up this love. It's just that sometimes your hand is right where your left hand is, right where your right hand is, and sometimes it's like, that's not my left hand, I need a different left hand. You just have to understand that when I talk about soulmates, I'm not talking about a physical embodiment, not a biological embodiment biologically. I can be with any woman, just take any woman off the street, I can sleep with her and she could get pregnant by me, but do I want to wake up next to her? You see, in my life, there was almost no woman except my wife with whom I would want to wake up every morning for the rest of my life. It's about the soul, not the body. The question arises, who are you, woman? Why do you affect me like this? Why do you influence me this way? Why is it you specifically? Why do I only want you to have my child? I've been with many women, but in my life, there wasn't a single woman I wanted to have my child until I met my wife. What is this? Can you explain to me? Who are you? Are you a woman from Kazakhstan, a Muslim, a violinist? Why do I treat you this way? Why have I been looking into your eyes for 15 years and still can't get enough? Why does my whole body tremble when I hug you? Why do I get goosebumps when you hold me? Why have I felt this for 15 years? Our kids are running around over there, but I still look at you. Who are you? What are you? What is this? What is this? I can't explain it, but I can. That's called love. There is love that lives in your mind, and there is love that lives in your heart. I'm talking about love, the heart, and we're already here. I've been here for a long time. That's why they paint this love for us. You see, I love him because of you. I look at you as a man. It's understandable. You can't help but fall for a handsome, charismatic, muscular, successful Caucasian doctor. Sasha, you look like you're from a magazine cover. How could anyone not fall for you? It's easy to fall in love. Another thing is, I love you with my mind. Or I love you with my heart. But what if you weren't the way you are now?
She met me when I had almost nothing.
She loved you with her heart, not her mind. She says, whether you're muscular or fat, smelly or fragrant, handsome, with a watch or without, I don't care. We hold each other's hands and we walk together. If we hit turbulence, I'll hold you even tighter. If we get caught in a storm, I'll hold you even tighter. But I won't let you go anywhere because I can't live without you. Isn't that your other half? Isn't that love? How many years have you been married?
We've been together for a long time, but not married for that long. We've been together for 9 years and we've been married for 4 years.
It doesn't matter. We've been together 9 years. You look into the eyes of the same woman and you look at her with loving eyes. 9 years.
I don't cheat, I don't betray.
I didn't ask about cheating, bro. I didn't go there. Do I love her? I said you love with love. How can you love the same person for 9 years and keep loving them? Some say love only lasts 3 years. It's faded and they don't love anymore, but they used to. I say that wasn't love from the heart, it was love from the mind, that's all. That kind of love is built on satisfying your own needs. Sometimes people get together because they're afraid of being alone. You're lonely and I'm lonely, let's be lonely together, like let's love each other. Well, I know you and you know me, you're safe and I'm safe, that's it, let's be together, okay, let's do it.
Compatibility does exist, but if we're not compatible, is it worth it? Sometimes that's just how relationships are. 2 years are tough, but then suddenly you get used to each other. They say the first year is the adjustment period, a year or two, then just hang in there and everything will be fine.
It's not about getting used to each other. You're not adjusting, it's just that you're messy and she's messy and you both are. And for a whole year you both took showers and suddenly you washed off all that mess. And then you're like this. Because before you met her, you were born to your parents, you had your own beliefs, you had your own ways of thinking, you believed in certain things. And you know all of this, like seashells sticking to your shell, she has the same thing. And suddenly you, beloved darling, but you started hugging each other, and these seashells started digging into your body. I can't hug you and it hurts me. And you start peeling off these seashells for a year, peeling them off, peeling them off, peeling them off. That's what you call adjustment. You're adjusting to each other, but in reality, you're grinding these seashells into dust. And so, when you've taken all of this off yourself, that's it. You breathe in, and now you can be together, and now you love each other.
How do you feel about a man having a mistress?
Negatively? Why? Because it's mean.
If you want, you can think about it. I'll tell you my opinion. I don't even do business with people like that. If I find out that my partner has a mistress,
I understand you.
I won't be with him because he's betraying the most important thing in his life.
I was just trying to find the right words since I know there are cameras here. And I don't really like to swear, so that's why. Well, it's mean towards someone close to you, towards yourself. And why is there a corpse behind this meanness?
Why is it that these men, when they're cheated on in revenge, or when they cheat but don't get caught, and then suddenly their wife cheats on them, why do they somehow forget that they're capable of the same thing? They did it themselves and may have even deserved it. Why does equality stop working for men in this situation?
Listen, I'll put it this way. I have a friend who recently got married. The point is, when he met his future bride, he did all sorts of things, even went so far as to sleep with his neighbor a few floors down. I'm not saying anything, I'm just asking, how do you look your woman in the eyes, the one who comes home, and you lie down with her, you share a piece of bread with her? You get it? This person was willing to do that. Then at some point, one day, he found out that she had also cheated on him 2 or 3 times, and it just became an obsession for him. It was driving him crazy. I asked, why does this make you so upset? And does she know that you also cheated on her? No, I said, tell me, does any woman know when her man has cheated on her? Tell her to even the playing field so she has something on you too. Right now, only you have something on her, but she wants it both ways. At the same time, she feels guilty, like, sorry, I cheated on you while you seem innocent and pure. That's because of her own sense of irresponsibility, you know? It's a desire for superiority. It's one of the nastiest feelings that plagues our society and so many people. You can always see it in the comments. A person infected with arrogance or pride thinks, I can do it, but you can't. Where does this arrogance come from? So, I am better than everyone else. Basically, almost everyone wants to be better than everyone else. You see, I'm better than you, I'm more of a man than you, and my watch is more expensive than yours. Do you remember how we started our conversation about comparison? I told you not to fight because fighting is the basis of comparison when we compare ourselves to each other. I don't care what psychologists say, what car someone drives, or how others live. What matters to me is that it's mine. I'm not looking for the best, I'm looking for what's mine. You see, I don't have the best watch, just an ordinary one.
They're good, comfortable, and well-tuned.
They're high-tech, convenient, do everything, and are inexpensive watches. That's what I have. I get around without a car, live in a rented apartment, and don't have my own place. I'm not a rich man, but I'm absolutely happy because everything I have is mine. Here's everything I need for life. It's mine, this is my woman, these are my children. You see, this is my purpose. Everything else I need. Why would I need the best car? But when a person starts comparing themselves to someone else, and if they see someone they consider better inside, everything starts to trigger them. And then there are all sorts of comments, insults, hate, and so on. If it's a husband and wife, they start arguing, I'm better, I can do this, and so on. All of this is just about their own ego.
I have a question from the second section. The modern man, what should he be like in your opinion? Why do I say modern? If you look 20,000 years ago, men were different, but I mean the modern man, the one who should be, in your opinion, not the one who exists now, but the one you think a man should be, like an ideal. Tell me about him.
Well, look, at all times and even today, a real man is always the same kind of man. It's like the weather. 200 years ago, 3,000 years ago, rain was wet and it's still wet now. There are things that never change. So we need to understand that only the form changes, but the essence remains the same. When we talk about a real man has always been, is, and will always be. A responsible man is an editor, and a responsible man is someone you can rely on. That's why for me, a real man, just like for a woman or for a man in relation to this man, you can rely on this man, you know? And you can only rely on a responsible man. So, 100 years ago, there were irresponsible men you could rely on? No. So, what makes a real man is not having a beard or the amount of money he has. It's not about some kind of heroic deeds either. Tattoos. Oh, tattoos are a whole separate topic for us, right now. You and I live in an era of bearded, tattooed, supposedly brutal men, you know? But if you put this tattooed, bearded guy in certain situations, he falls apart. Not just falls apart, but completely breaks down. At that point, you even have to diaper him, right? So when you ask me about a real man, I don't care if he's Caucasian, Russian, Chinese, Kazakh, or anyone else. It doesn't matter. I can rely on you, thank you. A woman feels safe with you, your children feel safe with you. Yes, the country feels safe with a man like that. Yeah, damn, bro, you're not just a real man, you're a man with a capital M, you know? That's why the key to being a real man isn't the amount of money you have or the size of your biceps, but the amount of responsibility you take for yourself and your tribe. That's why responsibility comes first.
I had a lecture about testosterone, the history of testosterone, how it was invented, where it came from, how it was synthesized, how it was used. Everyone believes the shift from fighting to playing with testosterone began recently. In fact, if you look far back in history, the first experiments were actually about removing testosterone, removing the testicles, castrating. And the paradox was the court castrati, and they were singers.
You're talking about them?
Singers included. And there were also, for example, in China, court eunuchs, castrati.
Those are eunuchs?
Yes, whose gonads were removed, so that they could move up in government service more easily, work better, be calmer, more cunning, and more devious. Many people now everywhere say success means testosterone. In today's world, there are actually a huge number of professions where a high level of testosterone will only get in your way because somewhere you'll act too manly, somewhere you'll respond to some rudeness or lewdness, and it will only hold you back to your core growth. Women also used to choose partners for traits like a bigger beard, chin, and more muscles, just like we did. Wider hips and a larger chest improve offspring feeding chances. And today, the criteria have changed a lot for women too. Now they look at how you're dressed, what you drive, and other criteria. Why do they say men are degenerating? Previously, continuing the family line was a privilege to be earned, but now it no longer is. And that's natural selection. The first stage is to compete with another male for a female. The second stage is having better sperm. The third is when out of 10 children, only 2 or 3 survived. But now the criteria for choosing a male are different. They learned to do in vitro fertilization with weak sperm and how to prevent child deaths, which we can see. The gene pool is getting worse. Plus, we've learned to treat many diseases. I'm not against this. Previously, people with these conditions didn't survive, but now they have children. We have to accept this because these problems will snowball, the gene will get weaker, and until we start working with it, it will just keep piling up like a snowball. That's why people wonder about rising cancer cases, partly due to the environment. There's a rule we must accept: do your job and accept it. And you know, there are even doctors who say that treating cancer is bad. They say that only until someone close to them ends up in that bad statistic.
In what sense is treating cancer bad?
There are colleagues who say, I treat cancer, but I think it's wrong because I'm helping a person with bad genes have offspring, and that disrupts natural selection. But
This
works until either he himself gets sick or someone close to him gets sick. He instantly forgets everything he said. But you need to understand the reasons.
I wouldn't generalize, since some people with cancer don't think that way, so others shouldn't assume he got cancer because he thought like that. No, my friends, these are just speculations about masculinity.
Let's take the modern world, for example. Why did I start with Dali? High testosterone doesn't always mean success today. And what qualities, in your opinion, should a man develop in the modern world, and how should he do it to achieve success?
Only one quality: courage.
Courage, yes.
I have a video actually about success. It got over 5 million views. It blew up. I was surrounded by women, and the conversation turned to success and all that. And I said that, you know, the Romans, I think it was Caesar who said, maybe Nero, but I think Caesar, he said something like, if you're so smart, why are you so poor? So basically that idea doesn't work. Being smart doesn't equal having money. I shared a really cool story while sitting with a friend. I'll repeat, it's a good one. When I was sitting with a friend at a cafe on the glacier near my house, there's this summer cafe here, and we're sitting together right where you're sitting now. Across from us, the chair was empty, my friend was sitting next to me, and sparrows flew in. There were crumbs on the table, and about 15 sparrows landed there, and they're just looking at those crumbs. 15 smart guys, they're clever, they're thinking, why should I go for it now? They'll grab it, they'll get me, they'll beat me, they'll catch me, they'll eat me. It's like a bunch of professors sitting there, and I'm just watching them thinking, well, will any of them go for it and start pecking? And then suddenly, out of nowhere, a sparrow flies in. Really, it just flies in. And it immediately lands on the table and starts pecking. It keeps pecking, 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 pecking. I'm just watching. Look, see, this is the formula for success. You 15 smart guys are sitting here thinking, making decisions, weighing things, holding strategic sessions. Choosing like what? And this guy just sat down. You see, his courage made him rich. At that moment, he took all the resources. That's why behind success, it's not knowledge or skill, but exactly the courage to make a decision. So when those same oligarchs start giving speeches and lectures saying, I'll tell you what stands behind success, I just want to say, you're messing with people's heads. There is no genius formula for success. The secret is very simple. You just went where others didn't dare to go. You took the very risks that those people didn't dare to take. You took out millions of rubles in loans or borrowed money and invested it in this business without fear. When I wanted to create my own show, my own talk show, and today talk shows are the most expensive type of content, like Andrei Malakov's show, Let Them Talk, etc. I wanted to make my own talk show. I called it They Don't Believe Me, with experts and 12 cameras. Just like that. And they calculated it for me. It cost me a lot. I had to borrow money. I went into debt to make this talk show. And people asked me, Kostya, are you crazy? Why did you do it? How will you make that money back or earn anything from this? I filmed the first season, it's on the internet, on YouTube. You can watch it, but I didn't make any money. Then I slowly, little by little, paid off all my debts, kept paying and paying. Everyone was saying I was crazy, asking why I borrowed so much money and spent it all. Yeah. I mean, I took a risk. I won, but only relatively speaking, but I fulfilled my dream. I wanted my own talk show. I made it happen. I filmed it. You see, and there's so much interesting information there. So it doesn't matter, this oligarch, that oligarch, another oligarch, they will say very beautiful, sweet speeches on camera. I read Napoleon Hill's book, I read this book, I went through that. Yeah, that's enough, stop talking nonsense. Eventually, you leaped into the abyss that no one else dared enter. Courage is behind any man's success, and not just men's success too.
I had one question. Are super successful people a result of circumstances, or are they really special?
It's steel balls. It's just steel balls. Character. That's all, character. Smart guy, So you understand how it works. I can break it down for you. Let's go. Every person on earth, everyone has their core. It's called personality. Personality determines their character. Character determines their actions. Actions determine their space and time. I look at this space. I came into the studio, such a big space, a big team, good cameras, lights here and there. This is your space, and this space determines your actions. So did you take certain actions that brought you here? So I'm like, he has character, he has a personality, So, by the way you live, I can immediately tell what kind of person you are. It's like how a predator recognizes another predator by scent. That's how I can tell if the person in front of me is a chipmunk, a bear, a wolf, or a snake. And when I figure it out, I immediately know how to interact with that person, you understand? But chess, when we talk about personality, a personality consists of facets. Here's a facet, here's a facet, here's a facet. 3 main factory options. Your personality, 3 facets. This is what you were born with. Personality, husband, father, and personality for the world, meaning what you bring. Right now, this is your personality. You're creating content. You're doing this for the world. You'll go home, you'll do something for your wife, that's your husband facet. Then you raise your children, that's your father facet. But these are the three main options. Then you're like this, and then you're also this, and this, and this, and this, and this. God is the most multifaceted substance. He has every facet, and even more and more you see like this. That's why personality is that very core. That's why I'll tell you the most fundamental thing, and maybe this is what will blow up the comments right now. I want people to rid themselves of the illusion that we as people are equal to each other at all. We are not equal to each other. People are not equal to each other and never have been. Among us there is a hierarchy. There are some people, there are other people, and there are yet other people. Thank you to those who made everyone equal, I understand, but because everyone was made equal, a collapse happened, a kind of catharsis. So if everyone is equal in your world, in mine they're not. I can respect a person who is below me in status or intellect. Socially, I can respect a security guard, taxi driver, cleaning lady, and others, as you said. Every profession has its place. That's why I even wrote in my book, a profession becomes respectable only when a person respects themselves. In this profession, everyone, I respect you, I respect you, I respect you. But I clearly understand that there is a hierarchy. There are people who are above me, and there are people who are below me. The most important thing for me is to know my place under this sun, in this hierarchy, in this food chain. Where am I, at the very top or at the very bottom? I recently had a conversation with my son. Well, recently, yeah. Right now, he's facing a very tough question. To hit or not to hit? That is the question. I mean, he's a boy right now. He'll turn 13 in November, and right now he understands that he's interacting with boys just like all. And he has, you know, this kind of wall. He can't hit, he can fight. I mean, he can hit, but psychologically he can't hit because he doesn't want to hurt anyone. That comes with its own issues. And what did I tell him? I said, Georgie, remember one simple rule in this life. It has always worked, it works now, and it will always work. Either you are dangerous, or you are the one who's afraid. To strike and spill someone's blood means that you are a predator, and that means you are dangerous. That means you've defined yourself, your status in this world. You've shown that you can strike, you can cause pain, so that means you're dangerous. If you say you can't strike and can't cause pain, then someone else will strike you, and then your status will be defined as someone who can be beaten, humiliated, put down. That's it, your status is set. You can see this very clearly in the army, in prisons, where these kinds of laws exist, you know. The concept is present in both places, but this law of hierarchy works very well there. So when people tell me that everyone is equal, I say go to the army and they'll explain to you who is equal there. There are privates, sergeants, senior sergeants, warrant officers, and officers. And order exists there only because of this hierarchy and a clear understanding of your position, your status. But when we talk about life, here's a man, here's a man, here's a man, your followers just can't see it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 men and 1 woman subtitles. 7 men subtitles. And here comes the question. Are they all predators here, or are there herbivores? Are they all dangerous, or maybe only one person is dangerous, or are there no dangerous ones here? You see, it's clear that we're all professionals. Each of us does our own job, and we're polite and courteous to each other. But if we were all thrown into some given circumstances right now, believe me, it would become clear right away. A wolf in paradise can pretend to be a sheep, but a sheep can't pretend to be a wolf in hell.
The fateful decisions of our country depend on, let's say, a general vote. I'm a doctor of science professor and head of 2 departments. You, and let's take my neighbor for example, he's a good person, but he's an alcoholic and a drug addict, doesn't work anywhere, is lazy and beats his wife. We are going to the elections. My contribution to the presidential election or to the adoption of any law is the same as his. Why do I, being more educated, intelligent, and having done more for society, have a vote of the same weight? Choosing the president, just me and him? That's why I don't support classical democracy. I prefer how it was in ancient times. Not everyone voted there. There was a narrow segment of the population who were educated, who were smart, writers, philosophers. They took this model, ruined it, and distributed it. We really do have a lot of problems. And strong men, I don't know how much they're actually needed. In the modern world, we're just talking. Does he really need to be strong?
The idea of a strong man doesn't actually exist, because strength is a resource that helps us overcome difficulties and protects us from certain threats. We talked with you about a real man, but it's a person who can be strong, and a strong person can be a man. Let's put it this way. A man-predator is just a predator, but predators are different. A wolf is a predator, and a bear is a predator too.
A ladybug is also a predator, by the way.
Yeah, especially since none of the predators would want to be a ladybug, you know? So here, not all predators are the same, and we need to clearly determine which predator we trust. Throne, if we're talking about the same monarchical system of government, let's not forget that the monarch is determined not by the people, and not even by the elite, but he is God's anointed. Therefore, if we now switch to a monarchical rule in our country and appoint someone as Tsar, no one has the right to appoint someone as Tsar except God. Then God himself must come down from heaven, point at you and say, "This is my representative in this country, I have placed him here." Who among you would argue with that, Father? We wouldn't argue at all. And then your son inherits, then his son, and so on. It gets passed down by inheritance, which means no one else will ever become monarch. But was there such a time? There was. What was happening there? There was chaos. These people sleeping with those, some sleeping with the maids. There was incest. Bastards were being born left and right. And God was like, "Whoa, guys, where have you gone?" You see? So a pure, noble king like that, sun-like, radiant, there's no one like that anymore. Now anyone can be king, and the people choose him. Another thing is, when people ask me, conversations come up about diplomas, whether someone has a diploma. And this is that eternal battle of the great and mighty, like Tchaikovsky, Prokofiev, when it comes to whether you need a diploma or not. I say, have you ever thought about the fact that all of us in the world entrust the fate of a country, the fate of people, to one person who doesn't have a diploma, because such a diploma doesn't exist? There's a diploma that says film director, there's the diploma, what does your diploma say, what specialty?
Medical practice.
It says medical practice, so you're a doctor, you're a certified doctor. Do they give diplomas to presidents for presidency?
I think
that there is no such diploma, no such. We trust a person's fate. We can entrust our body to a doctor without a diploma. We immediately say no, like you, that a doctor must be certified. I'm saying you trust your fate to a person who doesn't have a diploma. He could be a lawyer, he could even be an actor, he could be a tractor driver, he could be anyone, and we say we trust you with our fate. And what is this? The economy, culture, resources, everything, third, 10th, education, is in the hands of one person who doesn't have a diploma in the profession he is practicing. So, roughly speaking, someone might say, well, he's a civil servant. I say, listen, a civil servant is a civil servant. Mirozin works at the multifunctional center as a civil servant, but she's not the president, you know? That's why it's a question of why we entrust our fate, our own fate, and the fate of an entire country to one person, based on what qualities, based on what criteria, and so on. And we say Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, he's not just a strong man, he's a strong personality, and we're like, this is the person, we're ready to follow this person. What defines a strong personality? It's not muscle size, he doesn't even have big muscles. By actions, like Jesus said, remember, I will judge you by your actions. By actions, I say I support my president. Why? Because I was a teenager, what condition the country was in during the 90s. These are the 2000s now. They start talking about the president. I say, idiots, did you live in the 90s? Did you see what Russia turned into? It was just some drunken whore who was thrown under a fence, and everyone forgot about her, and everyone wiped their feet on her, whoever wanted to. And then a man came who started to lift her up, warmed her, washed her, dressed her. And now, in 25 years, he has turned her into a superpower that has challenged the giant Western machine. Editor proofreader A. Kulakova subtitle editor N. Alexandrova subtitle editor. Doesn't he deserve my respect and reverence as a leader? That's how I am, yeah. I don't care if you have a diploma or not. I don't need your diploma, subtitle editor. Because what I value in people is professionalism, and a person with a diploma may not be as professional as someone without a diploma. I trust autodidacts more. Those are people who have truly dedicated their lives to this craft. They may not have a diploma, but they've dedicated their whole life to this work. And they're more of a professional than someone who just paid those rectors and lecturers for their education. It's always a controversial issue, but that doesn't mean Konstantin Sarkisyan is against learning or higher education. No, I'm talking about something else, about the fact that he's a strong personality.
How do you reach your goals today? You said it's persistence, determination, courage, perseverance, but how do you achieve it? There are many like that, so what sets you apart so that you end up in that small percentage where you succeeded and others didn't?
I'll give you an example. I already talked about this in my interview with Ilya, but I'll say it again with you. My father was a lead analyst in the KGB. A real KGB guy, it's in his blood, and we often get together, chat, talk, and so on and so on. He knows everything about everyone, all the dates of appearance, passwords, last names. I asked Dad, you're 80, how do you remember all this? And I asked him, I said, can you tell me what's the most important thing, what important lesson did the KGB school teach you? By the KGB school, I don't mean some academy, but the experience in general, like the school of life in the KGB. And he says, it taught me. You should wait, he says. You can't imagine what a colossal, powerful resource the ability to wait is. Only those who didn't wait lose. Remember that, he says. And I'm like, only those who didn't wait lose. Holy moly. You gave up a meter before the finish line. You didn't wait. You understand? He says, learn to wait. Learn to wait. You'll beat everyone if you learn to wait. So be patient. You understand? All of this is the most powerful resource for success. You can keep pushing, then give up and say, yeah, to hell with it. But I said no and kept going, doing it over and over.
Is charisma important for a man, and can it be developed, or is it innate?
Is charisma important for a man? It's crucial for public figures, speakers, and leaders. Why? Because what is charisma? From ancient Greek, charisma translates as God's grace. Like God's grace, does that mean a gift or something or what? And then when I was digging into this question, researching it, I was like, I get it now. Charisma is a person's absolute inner freedom. That is, you have fears. Fear of not being accepted, fear of being rejected, fear of being judged, fear of being punished, fear. And when you go on stage, your whole alarm system goes off. Everything is shaking from the fear of not being accepted, of being judged, and so on and so on and so on. A charismatic person is internally fearless and unconcerned with those things. Subtitles. That's why when you meet a charismatic person, you think, wow. So someone might say, I don't need to go on stage. I don't need that at all. But then you ask, Why don't you need it? Where don't you need to go? Why does a tractor driver need to be a charismatic tractor driver? Why does a security guard need to be a charismatic security guard? He should be strong, he should be sensitive, he should be skilled, not charismatic. Then the question is, if you were God, who would you give this charisma skill to? Here are the men.
Probably to those who should be an example for other men. I call them lighthouse people, those who help others find their way out of the darkness.
These are leaders.
Leaders.
These are leaders, of course. That's why a leader must be charismatic. He needs this skill because people follow someone like that because he is bold in his decisions, he is bold in his behavior, he is bold in his choices. He needs courage and is successful, so naturally I follow someone like that, and I'm grateful my leader is charismatic.
Tell me, is it important in order to achieve something to dream, to think about it, to dream? In my life, whenever I want something, I always talk about it. I got this rule from The Secret, which I read in my first year of university. I also say that I'm not just dreaming about something. Yes, because people are asked, what do you want? And it's always kind of vague. Well, I want a good job. I say, no, it doesn't work like that. You need to visualize every detail, like achieving it, having it there, and having an office just like that. Visualize it. This lets you tap into your inner resources to dream, desire, and want, because it feels so real. It helped me in life, and it's not just about achievements, but even about meeting people. That's how it was for me. Whenever I wanted to meet someone, that person would enter my life. I thought about it, imagined how we would meet, what I would talk about with them, believe it or not. But it's just impossible to confirm this with any mathematical statistics, but it happened in such ways. This person appeared in my life, not just some neighbor I could get to know, but someone I had only seen on television maybe a couple of times at most. That's how it happened. How important are dreams in your worldview, or should you be as pragmatic as possible? So dreaming isn't really your thing?
Set a date for your dream and it becomes a goal. Editor and proofreader Kulakova. I set goals. A dream is something unattainable, it's something you want, but you already define it and give it the status that it will never come true, you understand? To make a dream real, set it and add a date.
Be specific?
Yes, you're not just being specific, although that's a very good thing, you're making it real. Redactor, and that means if I dream of going to the sea and I say, redactor, next summer I'm going to the sea. Semkin, all of this mobilizes you. Your sense of responsibility turns on, which means I have to earn money by next summer, and that means I have to do this. And all your inner resources start working toward this dream or this goal.
They start working for you?
Toward this goal and for me. You see, and when I'm like this, I dream so much on the couch.
So,
yeah, I dream so much about going to space, but why am I sending my energy there when I know I'll never go to space? Well, at least I'll dream about it. That's unnecessary. It's about not managing your resources properly. But if I say I want to go to space, okay, let's do it. I'll set a date for myself to go to space in 5 years. That means I have to prepare myself physically, I have to find ways to build a strategy, tactics, and a plan for how I'm going to do it. So while you're sitting there dreaming, I take it and do it. So when I've already achieved it, you're just sitting there. Well, of course, his dad helped him. Well, of course, look at his watch. Well, of course, he had a springboard. No, you idiot, while you were sitting here dreaming on the couch and picking your ass with your finger. Alexander just went and did it. You see, he just went and did it. Yeah, some things worked out, some things didn't, but he kept going and going while you were just dreaming here, that's all. That's why you're here and he's here. Does he deserve this success? Yes, he does. Can he rest on his laurels? He can. Do you have the right to sit in this crap? You also have the right to sit in this crap. But do you have the right to judge him? No, you don't have the right to judge him for achieving what you wanted to achieve but didn't because of your own cowardice.
When can I allow subtitle editing?
When all conversations are already meaningless. I've had that happen to me often. Yes, I know how to do both things very beautifully.
Is it important for a man to physically defend himself?
Of course, I can tell you, I even sent my son. I sent my son to Muay Thai. I sent him. Why? I say, you can talk as nicely as you want. I say, I am an example for him. I always set myself as an example. I say, look, son, look at me. Millions listen to me. I speak very well, and I can speak professionally. Moreover, I make a living from it. Moreover, I also wrote a book so I can master the word I say. But when one guy insulted your mother, made her cry, I didn't go out to explain the party's policy to him. I didn't try to be a psychologist or a speaker. I just made sure he got 40 stitches on his face and was taken to the hospital. Could a dad do something like that? Maybe you saw it too. I'm telling you, keep in mind, your woman should feel safe with you, just like your kids do. You can be anyone, an operator, a director, a writer. It doesn't matter, but first and foremost, you're a man, someone people can rely on and someone they feel safe with. So whether you want to or not, I'm not even asking. Will you start practicing martial arts? I don't need you as a world champion. I don't need you with trophies at all. I just need you as a man who can stand up for himself, take down 1, 2, 3 people. It doesn't matter. What matters is that your woman feels safe with you. There are just some people you can negotiate with, and there are people you shouldn't try to negotiate with. Just spend your time just there and...
Don't play chess with fools.
Well, kind of, yeah. So, as our president, as you and I know, said, the streets of Leningrad taught us, if a fight is inevitable, strike first. That's why I always strike if a fight is inevitable.
Is male jealousy really just insecurity, as some say?
First of all, what is jealousy? Jealousy is recognizing someone as better at something and being afraid of losing what is valuable to you. It relates to your own sense of self-worth. So, a man with an inflated self-esteem doesn't get jealous, you see, and a woman with an inflated self-esteem doesn't get jealous either. It's people who get jealous. Jealousy is a reaction to thinking someone is better, and behind jealousy is the fear that because of this, I might lose you. So it's kind of a veiled form of ownership, like you can take something from me because you're better. But in fact, behind jealousy is envy, like, of course, she's better than me. You summed it up, she's better than me. Your jealousy shows that you admit she's above you. So either I kill her, and here we remember my favorite Salieri, or I raise my self-esteem. You see, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what jealousy is. I don't understand it when I look into my wife's eyes. Yes, even I'd be curious if you could find someone like me. I'll shake his hand and say, wow, you're awesome. How could I be jealous when I respect him? If you're like me, but no one is, so why be jealous?
A question about criticism. In general, criticism is a good thing. Criticism, probably, if it's really healthy criticism, is someone's desire to make you better.
Constructively.
I'd say constructively. It may hurt, but it helps you change, whether it's pleasant or not. Hate, I replace that word with poop, throwing it around. Okay, I would describe it as just doing something nasty to you, not because my goal is to do something good for you. And how do you generally react, and how do you advise men to react to criticism if they find it extremely unpleasant? Because no matter how perfect you are, even in the video there were sounds of nature and it doesn't even get likes. Many people who start blogging or start a new job or try to learn something new always face judgment. How do you deal with this in a calm and reasonable way?
Today I caught myself thinking I have a channel on Telegram. I have a channel that promotes nonviolence. I share wisdom there. God, life, wisdom, it would seem. But even there, people start conflicts. And I drew an analogy. God made a channel called Planet Earth. It's His, and we live on it with subtitles. He comes up and says, now you understand me. You created a world where you have 20,000 people living. Look at Alexander. He has 2 million people living on his planet. People live peacefully there. No, with you, I'm like this, like how? This person doesn't promote violence, doesn't pit people against each other. Why are you causing this? It's you who are causing violence when you start talking about leaders and politics. What leaders? What politics? If you were given space, you'd start fighting there too. You don't know how to live in peace? You see, you don't know how, and here's the question. Under what form of government? Let's get into politics for a second. Under what form of government are peace and order possible?
Well, probably, unfortunately, when there's a big heavy club hanging over your head.
A prisoner and a whip. That's the only world where everything is harmonious and calm, where there's a whip in one hand and a carrot in the other. And it's not unfortunately or fortunately, it's just the way things are. Therefore, so when people start telling me that I'm so tough, I say, yes, I can be like that too. I have both a stick and a carrot in my hand. But my father always told me, before you put someone to sleep, fire 2 shots into the air, and I always fire 2 shots into the air. I warn them, don't do it, that's it, and after that the person goes to sleep.
By the way, how would you advise the guys to develop confidence in themselves?
To understand themselves and where their strength comes from,
And how do you understand?
To understand and study yourself what I can do. Well, look, if I need to figure something out about myself, about my body, I'll come to you as a specialist. I'll say, Sash, what's going on here? This hurts. Look, you have this here and you have that there. Thank you, you helped me understand my body. If you want to understand your personality, your psychological type, and so on, go to a specialist who is a professional in understanding people, and they will help you figure yourself out. It would be a different matter if there was no desire. But some people just don't want to look inside themselves. If you think, for example, if there's any advice, I can give you advice, go into your fear. You understand? In many tribes, there is one of the most important rituals called the initiation ritual. By the way, I had a question about male initiation, what it means to you as well, and why it is needed. It's a transitional moment between a boy and a man, how it happens. Everyone has the same essence, but the forms are different. Someone has to get into an alligator, someone has to get into a shark, someone has to jump, but the point is the same. A boy has to overcome his fear. We now live in a modern world where this ritual doesn't exist. We live in this now. Carefully. Civilities under technical VK should follow. Don't you remember? A modern man living in the concrete jungle. And Ilya doesn't know either. He's in Donbass now, Kostya told me. I remember our conversation about initiation, and this is my initiation. So he went into his fear. He's in Donbass now, shooting a documentary. He sent me a shot, and I was like, oh, buddy, you're a man. Well, you faced your fears, What if we don't have it? But if you ask me, Kostya, did you have this initiation ritual? I'll say yes, I did. In '97, I joined the army during a time of lawlessness and national collapse. I served 2 years in the internal troops, performed honorably, and left as a senior sergeant. I went through my initiation ritual, saw it, and proved to myself that yes, I've got what it takes, That's why today the army is that initiation. But can a man become a man without the army? He can, I can tell you, he can. There are guys sitting here who say, we didn't serve in the army, editor, but they're more of a man than those who did serve in the army. You see, it's not a matter of a certain place, it's a matter of a certain fear, whether you've conquered your fear or not, because the demon sees your fear and he holds you by the balls with that fear. You see, at one point he clenches his fist and you say, no, backing away. And someone just walks into that fear, and as soon as you get through that fear, you immediately become a man. That's what an initiation ritual is. Is it worth spoiling a boy at all? No, I can tell you no, I never spoiled my son. I raise him strictly. Believe me, I can make it so that he feels completely safe and protected. But no, a boy should grow up in tough, difficult conditions, but he should always feel his father's support. It's like, like my favorite parable. A father took his son to the forest, blindfolded him, and said, "Son, I'll come to you tomorrow morning." If you sit all night in the forest with the howling and cries of wild animals in this cold and never take off the blindfold in the morning, when you take it off, you will be a man. Subtitles. The boy spent the night listening to wild animals. In the morning he removed his blindfold, saw his father, and said, "Dad, you came." His father replied, "I never left." Do you understand? That means you'll be in tough conditions, but I'll always be there for you, and you should feel your father's support. The problem with modern men is that girls, they don't feel their father's support. They don't have that support. Like when they can't rely on their father, and that's the most powerful source of strength for a boy, when he understands that he can rely on his father. I can be a tough father with my son and daughter. I'm a dad, all of that. I'm a big soft teddy bear, who can tear anyone apart. But with her, I'm a teddy bear, and with my son, I'm not. And no matter how tough the circumstances he finds himself in, he always feels my support. He always knows that I'm there. I'll always support him. I'll always be on his side. You see, and I am confident in him as a person, as an individual, 100%. I know perfectly well how he will behave in any situation. Sometimes I even told my wife, I came up with that expression myself. I spy on my own son, I watch my son, I see how he grows, I see how he interacts with this world. I realize that I can already say to myself that I am incredibly proud of this boy because he is truly worthy. I see how he helps, supports others, and thinks. He absorbed all my wisdom with his mother's milk. I realize that he is simply wonderful, but yes, he is not perfect. And sometimes we lock ourselves in the office, he sits on the couch, I sit in the armchair, and you don't understand, you can't even imagine. For Sasha, it's such an inner triumph that he can talk to his father about grown-up manly topics. And also, sometimes every year we go rafting on the river for 6 days, and we sleep together in a tent in the wild, and Dad is still there with me, So my advice as a father, first of all, at the very least, love their mothers. Thank you. That's the first thing your son should see in you, that Dad loves Mom. Thank you. That's all for the subtitles. Be devoted to your family. Thank you. Third, don't be afraid to put your son in tough situations. Thank you, but always be there for him. Thank you. You can throw him into a pit with wolves, but stay close by. He should understand that Dad didn't abandon him, but Dad is raising him, Dad is guiding him, and Dad is there for him. He will fight his own demons, and he will defeat them, you see, with help, relying on your wisdom, your advice, and so on. He'll say, "Dad, thanks for always being there during tough times." Can you imagine what kind of friend he will grow up to be, what kind of friend he will become, because he understands that male solidarity, a man's shoulder, is a sacred shoulder, you see, just like a mother's embrace is sacred, a mother's embrace, and then there's a father's shoulder. That's another sacred thing. What place of power are you talking about? Caves, stones, that's the most powerful place of power. It's a mother's embrace and a father's shoulder. My children receive a mother's embrace, and my son receives a father's shoulder, and he grows up to be a real man. But no, I don't spoil him. I don't pat him on the head. And my son, since he was 4 years old, I've even got a video of it. When Guzova Olia asked Georgi, "Is Dad a real man?" He says, I ask him, "What's our iron rule?" He says, "Tears don't solve problems." He's known this since childhood. If you want to cry, go ahead, but you won't solve the problem that way. Let's solve the problem. My kids come into the office and instead of complaining say, "Dad, there's a problem to solve." I respond, "Let's solve it together." I don't scold him for mistakes. I don't scold him for messing up. No, I say, "Georgie, remember, I will never scold you for bad grades or mistakes. I will only punish you if you don't fix them. Fix the mistake and move on." You see, Bog, when the whole religious community keeps telling me that we're going to burn in hell, I want to ask, what makes you think that we're useful to God in hell? Why would he need you suffering in hell? Why do you picture God as an idiot like that? If your child breaks a chair, would you enjoy watching them stand in the corner or kneel on peas? Would you really enjoy that? What does that do? Will it fix the chair? No, as a wise father, you would say to your son, "You broke the chair, fix it." But he might say, "I don't know how." You'd say, "Doesn't matter, fix it." And while fixing the chair, he might hit his fingers a couple of times and start whining. Those struggles he goes through will be an experience for him, and next time he won't jump on the chair. That's why God doesn't need you in hell. God needs you fixing your mistakes. That's why I don't scold my son for his mistakes. I tell him to fix them, and he knows that. "Dad, don't worry, I made a mistake, but I'll fix it." I always say, "Fix it, that's great."